Hello everyone, hey, this is Mike Kohler coming to you from Mike Kohler Fitness. And in this video, I want to talk about some tricep exercises that I like to do for physique enhancement for myself and for my clients. Okay, a few things we want to think about when it comes to training your triceps. The real important thing is to understand that it's a three-headed muscle. There are three heads to the tricep. There's a medial head, which attaches to the arm, to the humerus down here. There's a lateral head, which attaches to the humerus. But the third head, the long head, actually attaches to the scapula, okay, which is really important to understand. So if you want to emphasize the long head of the tricep, you really have to elongate it. What I mean by that is that you have to flex your arm while extending the elbow. You know, muscles work like rubber bands. Once they're stretched, they want to snap back. So if you do all your tricep training with your arms at your side, you still are working all three heads, but you won't really be emphasizing the long head. So I'm going to show you some movements with different grips. We're going to do some exercises with a supinated grip. We'll do some exercises with a pronated grip, and we'll do some movements with what I like to call like the hammer grip. It's not as important, using a supinated or pronated grip when you're training your triceps as opposed to your biceps. It's very important when you train your biceps. As you can see here, when I'm supinating, see how the bicep pops up? And then when I pronate, the bicep drops. So it's really important to understand that when it comes to biceps training, it's not as important with triceps. Because if you notice, when I supinate and pronate, it doesn't really affect the tricep all that much, but it's still nice to have variety in your workouts. It's still going to hit the triceps, I think, just a little bit differently, whether you're using an underhand grip, a supinated grip, or an overhand grip, a pronated grip. I like to use all three grips for my tricep training. It just keeps it interesting, keeps it different. It really affects how you stand and how you just pretty much position yourself when you're training the triceps. Another thing you want to keep in mind always when you're doing any type of resistance training, especially for physique enhancement, is you always want to look at where gravity is coming from. Like for example, if we're doing, this is a movement I really like, just an underhanded grip, tricep extension. If I'm close to the machine when I'm doing these tricep extensions, the weight is going to be heaviest more in the mid-range of the exercise, not necessarily at full extension. But if you notice, see, if I back up now, and now you see the angle of gravity is here, this movement is going to be a lot harder at full extension. So that's something else you really want to keep in mind when doing your tricep training. You always want to look at where is gravity coming from, and you want to do some movements where the work is hard in the mid-range of the exercise, and you want to do some movements where the resistance is the hardest or heaviest at full extension. Okay, well let's go into some basic movements. Let's go over the one we just did there. I'm going to keep the weight nice and light just for demonstration purposes. Okay, so I like to do some movements with a supinated grip. So we're going to do an underhand grip. We're going to go chest out, back flat. I always like to slightly pack my neck. I like, let's do a set or two when we're relatively close to the upper pulley. So this is going to be more of a mid-range motion. I like to do a nice, slow, easy rep cadence, maybe 4 or 5 second rep cadence. And I have to say, these movements that we're doing today, this is like a pump-up day. This is more for physique enhancement bodybuilding. So much of your tricep work is going to come from your big lifts, like your bench press. When you're bench pressing big weight, when you're moving big weight, and you're extending those elbows, you're really hitting the triceps real good. So these are like secondary movements, maybe after you're training your chest, back, and shoulders to hit the triceps a little bit. Okay, that's the movement. Now also, like we looked before, when you back up, I also would do a set when gravity is coming from a different angle to make it harder at extension. Okay, I'm gonna pause the tape now, and then we're gonna go to a different movement. Now another movement I like with the upper pulley on the for the tricep is your classic straight bar tricep extension. I'm going to give myself a little bit more weight on this. Okay. The important thing I find with this is really getting your grip right. You really want to keep the wrist straight. You don't want to start in an extended position. I would keep the wrist nice and straight. I like that monkey grip, when your thumbs are on top. Chest out, back flat. I pack the neck slightly. We go down to full extension, a little pause, and then we come up. I would say about 2/3. Like for example, you don't want to come up all the way because the weight is balanced. I do a nice slow set, 1 or 2 sets here. I keep the reps relatively high. I'm going to be doing maybe 15 reps or so of tricep extension with the push down movement, right? And same thing, I'm going to do a set there, then I'm going to take about a 30-second break. I'm going to back up, I'm going to do another set of tricep extension. Now this is going to be much harder when the elbow is fully extended. Another great movement. Okay, let's go to the next exercise. The next movement we're going to do is we're going to try to emphasize the long head of the tricep. Like we talked about in the beginning of the video, the long head of the tricep attaches to the scapula. So by flexing the arm and then doing elbow extension, we're going to hit that long head. And let's try with the ropes. Chest out, back flat, slightly pack the neck. Make sure to keep the elbows high and keep them there. Don't let them move. And then we're just going to do tricep extension. We're going to use a slow eccentric, and then we're going to come back nice and easy, and then we're going to extend, and we're going to pause. We're going to come back nice and easy, and then we're going to extend. And I'm probably going to do a couple sets of those, a nice slow rep cadence, maybe 5-second rep cadence, around 15 reps. Okay, let's go to the final movement. Okay, now the fourth and final movement we're going to do for the tricep is we're going to use the rope and we're going to do a tricep pushdown, but I'm going to be using a hammer grip. I like the hammer grip because I can really get my wrist and my hand almost behind me. In fact, if I start with a little bit of shoulder extension, it's the opposite of doing the exercise that we did the last time. We're actually going to be creating slack, a little bit of slack in the long head of the tricep. And we actually can work the other two heads a little bit more, the medial and the lateral head. And I really like this hammer grip. Chest out, back flat. We're going to go down, full extension. And you see how I'm keeping my wrist nice and straight when I do this movement? Let me back up a little bit more so you can really see it. I'm keeping my wrist nice and straight when I do this. I'm not letting this motion come into play. We got a nice back straight. I slightly pack the neck. And we go down, and once again, that nice slow rep cadence of about 5 seconds, and then to come right down. Okay. Well, let's basically review the 4 exercises we did. The first thing we did is we did an underhand grip, a supinated grip, tricep extension. We did one close, so it's more of a mid-range exercise. Then we did a second set further away to emphasize the extended part. When the arm is fully extended, the weight is the heaviest. Okay. Then the next movement we did is just your classic basic tricep pushdown with a straight bar. We kept our wrists nice and straight. We used the same concept. We did one set close, which was more of a mid-range movement. Then we backed up so the weight will be heavier at a little bit more of full extension. Okay. The third movement we did was the overhead tricep extension. We tried to emphasize the long head of the tricep by using the ropes and doing extension. And then our final set is we used the hammer grip. And by keeping our elbow extended, we created a little bit of a slack, in the long head of the tricep. So we worked the medial and the lateral head a little bit more. Okay, and once again, I always want to, like I said earlier, keep in mind so much of your tricep development is going to come from your big lifts like your bench press. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give me a thumbs up on YouTube. Follow me on Facebook. And like I always say, if you're ever in New York, and you're looking for a great trainer in the Westchester area, this is my gym, My Cola Fitness. I'm Mike Kohler. I've been training people for over 25 years. Whatever your fitness goals are, I'm sure I can help you. Okay, take care, and I hope to hear from everyone soon.